Crimson Desert is a great game, but it's done wrong. But before we get into why I think that, let's talk about the game first, just so we can have some context. And actually, before we even get into the main part of the game, there's one small detail I haven't really seen anyone talked about. Even if you haven't played it, you've probably seen it on trailer or somewhere. You have probably noticed this red slash effect that appears on enemies whenever you hit them. And honestly, I really like it. It reminds me of one of that anime called Sword Art Online, that same kind of red hit effect whenever you strike enemies. It's a small thing, but for me, it has this weird sense of nostalgia, and it just makes the combat feel so much more satisfying. So for those of you who's been living inside a cave and still don't know what Crimson Desert is, it's an open world action RPG made by Pearl Abyss, the same studio behind Black Desert Online, and this time they're going for a more story-driven single-player experience with a massive open world. Now let's talk about the story, because honestly, this is the part I have the least to say about, and that's not really a good thing. I gave it around 5 hours and I just couldn't keep going, not because I didn't want to, but because it never really put me in. The story just feels kind of forced together, like things are happening, but there's no real weight behind them. For example, there's this moment where you randomly go into the sewer for absolutely no reason, and there's a woman there crying, and you're just like, okay, I guess we're helping her now? There's no real build-up, no strong reason, you're just thrown into it. Even from the start, it just feels all over the place. You lose so much for soldiers, then you die, then suddenly you're back alive, and now you're on this journey to find your friends, be the good guy? It just feels rushed, like the game is pushing you forward before you even feel invested. Nothing really feels natural. And another thing, the conversations with random NPCs are just really short, like quick one-line interactions, and that makes it really hard to connect with anyone in the world. It kind of makes the world feels less alive as well, because you can't really do much with them. And honestly, if you're someone who doesn't really care about the story in games, you're probably going to hate this even more, because you can't skip most of the dialogue or cutscenes. I got to a point where I just gave up on the story completely. Sometimes when characters were talking, I would literally just go watch YouTube while I played in the background. I mean, yeah, you can speed it up, but it's still annoying. So overall, the story just didn't hook me at all, and if anything, it actually made the experience a whole lot worse. Now, let's talk about the combat, because this is probably the most controversial topic from the game. First of all, I have seen a lot of divided opinions about it, but if you ever played Black Desert Online, this should feel pretty familiar, maybe even easy to pick up. You can definitely see the similarities, which makes sense since it's the same studio. I mainly played on PC, and I did try using the controller, but I honestly hated it. Now, to be fair, I have barely used controller before, aside from something like FIFA, so maybe that's on me, but still, it just didn't feel good. Having to press things like R1 and R2 together right from the start, it feels so bad, so I just went back to mouse and keyboard, and that feels so much better. But once you actually get into combat, it's honestly really fun. I don't know, a lot of people say this game is hard, but I don't really agree. I think it's actually a pretty fair level of challenge. The more you play, the better it gets. You start unlocking new moves, doing combos, parrying. You can even grab enemies and just throw them around. It's actually kind of insane. And the physics add a lot too. Like if you slam an enemy into the wall, they actually bounce off it. It might sound like a small thing, like nothing, but it just makes the combat feel so much more satisfying. And like I mentioned earlier, the red slash effect when you hit enemies, I still think that's such a nice touch. It just makes everything feels more impactful. But there are some weird moments too. Sometimes enemies would just get knocked down even if I wasn't hitting them. Like I would be fighting one guy, another enemy just like 10 meters away just falls over. I get that the main character is strong and all, but that just felt like a bit off. So yeah, the combat is fun, but it's also a bit inconsistent. Now let's talk about the exploration and the overall gameplay systems and mechanics. And honestly, this is actually one of the parts I really liked, because there's just so much to do. You can rob, steal, run different kinds of activities, manage your own little business, hunt bounties, sell goods, trade. There's always something going on. And on top of that, the game has physics built into the world, so you can actually interact with your environment in a lot of ways. It just makes everything feel so much more alive. For example, burning a whole leaf wall down with a fire arrow, that was pretty cool. So personally, I don't really agree with people who say there's too much content, because for me, that's what makes the game fun. You're not being held by hand, you can just go out and do whatever you want. And honestly, I love that freedom. But at the same time, this is also where things start to feel a bit weird. Let's talk about the puzzles for a second. Now, I'm not really a puzzle person, so I didn't really enjoy that part that much. But to be fair, if you're someone who likes puzzles, you will probably find them really interesting. The game doesn't really guide you, like you have to figure things out on your own, which is kind of the whole point. The problem for me is that there are quite a few mandatory puzzles, so even if you don't enjoy them, you still have to do them. So it's kind of weird. The game gives you all of this freedom, but at the same time, it doesn't. And honestly, another thing I actually really liked is how chaotic the game feels. Like the game just throws so many ideas together and somehow it still works, at least in a fun way. You've got things like a full-on Dragonmon that can fly, you've got what's basically a jetpack in a medieval fantasy game, even the horses have drifting mechanics. It sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud, but it's actually kind of sick. And on top of that, you are not just stuck playing one character, you can switch and play as other characters too, and they don't feel like side characters at all. Each one of them has their own abilities, their own combat style, and they actually feels like a fully built characters, not just extras. And honestly, I have talked about a lot of good things about Crimson Desert already. The combat, the systems, the freedom, all the different ideas. But I also have to mention the visuals because this game looks amazing. It's very visually appealing, the world is beautiful, it's different biomes, and everything just feels really well made. And on top of that, the game is actually really well optimized. I've got a decent PC, and I'm getting around 100 FPS on almost max settings, which is honestly really impressive for a game like this. Not a lot of games these days really focus on optimization like that, so I definitely respect it. So yeah, there's a lot of good things going on in this game, but now let's talk about why I think it's done wrong. This game feels like it was built for something else, and hear me out. I genuinely think Crimson Desert would have worked so much better if it leaned more into something like GTA Online or Red Dead Online. Now, don't get me wrong, GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2 are amazing games with incredible stories, and that's exactly why they work so well. They have strong storytelling and strong gameplay systems. But Crimson Desert, it doesn't really have that. It has all these systems, business, bounties, robberies, trading, but the story just isn't strong enough to carry everything. So instead of story supporting the game, it kind of just holds it back. And that's why I feel like this game should have focused more on the online style experience. Not a full MMO, but something more like GTA Online or Red Dead Online, where the focus is on the player experience, not the story. Because the foundation is already there. You have got trading in business, bounties, exploration. You can already see how this could work in the shared world. And honestly, it is better than Red Dead Online's camp because you're actually interacting with different nodes and systems instead of just waiting around for your NPCs to craft the goods and they just sell. And the thing is, you don't really connect with NPCs in this game anyways. So instead of forcing that, why not just let players connect with other players? Doing activities together, trading, farming bosses, building your own path. That's where this game would really shine, I think. And on top of that, Pearl Abyss already have a really bad background of having shitty stories. Totally not talking about Black Desert Online. Maybe it should never be the main focus again, that's what I think. Because right now, it feels like Crimson Desert has all the pieces to be something amazing. It just doesn't fully commit to the right direction. And that's why I think it's a great game, but done wrong. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. Do you agree with me, or do you think the game is fine the way it is? And don't get me wrong, I love single player story driven games. I just feel like Crimson Desert would be so much better as more of a online player driven experience. Either way, I still really enjoy the game, and I'm honestly excited to see where it goes. Hopefully we will get something like an online mode in the future. And yeah, if you're into RPGs and MMOs, I make a lot of content like this, so feel free to sub. I also stream on YouTube, Twitch and TikTok, and I've got a Discord if you guys want to hang out. But that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.